Hi, everyone. Welcome to the VSoft Artificial Intelligence presentation. I wanted to share with you today something unique, something different from what I've been presenting in the past. Because, of course, throughout these presentations, you'll hear a lot about AI offerings. And what I wanted to do is to communicate what VSoft as an organization does in the artificial intelligence world, but to share it from the perspective of our journey through the process of evolving our artificial intelligence technologies and our offerings and working with our end users and our clients to help evolve their artificial intelligence journey. So I'll start with a brief bio here of myself. And of course, you guys can just look up the details here in the profile sections of the virtual event. But like I said, my name is Konrad. I am the Senior Practice Head for Artificial Intelligence and IoT at VSoft Labs. I'm also the Chairman of the AI Innovation Consortium, which is the other logo you see here in the corner. And I'll share with you a little bit about what we do here. I've worked in a variety of different artificial intelligence projects, first kind of at the grassroots level using different libraries, PyTorch, TensorFlow, and otherwise, and then kind of evolving both with those sort of activities as a developer, being a software engineer by background, and also working to kind of engage end users in different shapes and forms to try to understand specific needs of the users and evolve specific AI solutions for them. And that led me down a path of kind of entrepreneurship and working to stand up different operations, both for myself and for large tier one companies. I'm a previous head of an AI lab in Eastern Europe for a large tier one company. I'm also deeply involved in design thinking, which is kind of a unique way of designing solutions from the perspective of the user, understanding their problem, borrows from different sort of best practices like Agile and applied psychology. And really, really interesting to use that kind of concept for evolving AI solutions as well. And I've been involved in a variety of different large technology rollouts, both in the AI world and in my previous life in the IoT world, which is also very relevant, I think, here in this AI discussion. So why I'm showing you this slide is more so to show you that really what I want to accomplish here today is to provide a unique perspective and a unique journey through our offering. Every time I've presented these sort of virtual events, and in the past, that's, if you guys remember the time when there was actual physical people in a room together in these other events in the last 2-3 years. And each time the audience grew in their understanding and in their journey of artificial intelligence. And so they came with different expectations. And each time we as an organization grew with our offerings. And so I wanted to flip the dimension here because you can all come to our booth and understand our solutions in more detail. And although I'll share those solutions here today, I wanted to talk from the perspective of our journey as a small and medium-sized business, evolving our AI practice, and based on not only our internal expertise, but based on the pulse that we had on how we engaged our users and what those users wanted in terms of solutions and where they were in terms of their digital maturity in artificial intelligence. So this is the one slide that I will borrow from a previous presentation, and I've changed it just a little bit. So time and again, and I'm guilty of this too, is that if there is not a multi-dimensional approach to these sort of presentations, because of the multi-dimension of our audience here today, technical, non-technical, business-oriented operations, end users, either IT companies, that we will not only focus too much on one dimension of this technology and not really cover the rest of the audience's interests, but we will lose their attention. And so what I want to accomplish here today is to talk to you and try to be interesting as best as I can around artificial intelligence, around our journey with artificial intelligence, and not try to pitch you the various features of our offerings, but rather share with you how our journey is relevant to you and how our journey has changed us as an organization and has evolved us in an organization. So implicitly, I'm trying to share how we have become successful with artificial intelligence, but also trying to do something creative in the process. So just a little bit of history about VSoft. We've been founded in 1997. For the year of 2019, we had more than $150 million of revenue. We have 1,200 employees globally. We're headquartered out of Louisville, Kentucky, and we have different technology practices from artificial intelligence and IoT, which I head, to ServiceNow, to IT services in mobile application development, and a variety of different other core capabilities. And we're headquartered all across the US, Canada, and also have 2 development teams in India. Now, again, this is all kind of for historical context. There's also another dimension to why I'm here today and to what I want to share, and this is the AI Innovation Consortium. So this is a collective group of industry and academia that has been brought together, founded roughly 2 years ago, out of Louisville initially, and now it's really a global consortium with the focus on evolving AI in different dimensions, both in the context of things that might be relevant to end user organizations, like understanding business value, understanding and breaking through barriers of adoption related to artificial intelligence, that could also relate to preparation of data, a strategic roadmap for deployment, and also other dimensions that are very important, that are more consortia related, and not only these things that we take credit for, because there's a lot of really great things, great organizations out there that have been evolving best practices for data bias, that have been evolving best practices for it's basically framing a structure from which you can cleanse data, structure data, feature engineer, and then develop AI models to support some relevant insights that have immediate value to your organization. What we've done in this space in the consortium is really make this domain specific. So you'll see different end users with different interests that have collectively, because they're very large, and many of them represent broader industry goals, but specific to pharma, specific to oil and gas, specific to other verticals. These are some of the founding members of the group. Again, very diverse group, state, federal organizations, pharmaceutical, a lot of different universities, and there's many more here that are not included in the list, but feel free to visit the website and take a look. And so I started with some context for you all to try to introduce both VSoft and the AI Innovation Consortium, because I will be sharing our journey from both of those perspectives. Now I wanted to take a step back, if you will, into kind of the traditional areas in which what I wanted to communicate, which is the VSoft offerings around artificial intelligence. And I've made them very visual and deliberately I'm not diving into feature details. These are things that you can all come to our booth and talk to us about, and we can demonstrate these capabilities and so on. There's a link to some chatbot instance here, and you can visit that as well, and either during the presentation or after the presentation, and get a little bit of a feel for some of the features, but not all, of course, because you won't have access to these other components. But Vera, which is with the logo that you see here in the corner, is our flagship virtual assistant product. It is designed to be both multi-channel, meaning it could be deployed on web pages, it could be deployed on mobile devices, and it is designed, as we've evolved it, to basically provide, to be, first of all, domain specific. So you can see here some field engineers, some lab scientist specific applications of the Vera virtual assistant, and also to be driven by user requirements and by user needs. And so what you see, just to give you a little bit of context, is an orchestration tool and a dashboard that give you an understanding of how the interactions with your chatbot are happening and help you understand what problems are being resolved, which ones are not being resolved. This is kind of part of our evolution, which I'll share with you, in continuous improvement. So providing the ability for end users like yourselves to engage the chatbot in the back end, to understand the interactions that are happening, and to evolve the capabilities of the chatbot. Really essential tools that are part of the chatbot capability. This is our second offering. It is the Vera computer vision for health and safety and operations. And again, we started with computer vision in a very rudimentary way, evolving custom AI models to extract insights for specific clientele. But as we evolved this offering, we productized it and we began understanding the needs and the necessary components of what computer vision really will provide to our end user communities and what really the end user communities need in terms of capability. And I'll share with you a little bit about that journey. And of course, if you want to find out more, there's our virtual booth that we have, and there's a quick YouTube video link here that you can jot down and visit after the presentation. The third offering that we have is AI for industrial manufacturing. And this is also a very unique offering powered through computer vision and through data analytics. The visuals I share with you here are some of the hardware components necessary for the system to operate and some of the physical environments necessary that helped us evolve this product. And I'm going to share with you again our journey in that evolution and why it was essential to provide a successful product offering in the space. And again, a YouTube video that can give you some more insights. So I've covered three of our offerings. These are kind of our core offerings. I wanted to stay as concise as possible. So those are the three offerings that we as VSoft have in our AI portfolio. And now, again, I want to take another step back and share with you some interesting data. And this is still relevant now. I'm not sure about the recent surveys here, but there is, as part of the development and the deployment of the chatbot, a lot of interesting things that you encounter in terms of how the user accepts that chatbot and how often they will use that chatbot based on what you offer as part of the end-to-end capabilities of that bot. One of the underlying things that we included in our go-to-market strategy is the understanding that user perception and authentic interaction are the two key things to a successful adoption of the chatbot, regardless of how precise it is in responding to information and regardless of how well it is implemented or how efficient it is implemented. It's ultimately about, in this case, as you can see here, interestingly, about the perception. So although Alexa, and I'm not sure about the most recent benchmarks, but just to give you some context, although it's not particularly accurate in providing information, it is still the preferred platform for large communities of end users to use in order to get answers in a virtual assistant interaction. And then this is the other kind of context that we had before, and as I take you through this journey, this is by Gartner, and it talks about basically industry leaders across different CIO roles and their focus areas in artificial intelligence and their priorities. And you can see here there are a lot of things that you're probably going to see throughout these virtual presentations that are going to be talking points around edge AI, around deep learning, around chatbots that are immediate focus areas for stakeholders that have decision-making power within end user organizations, within customers, in our case, organizations. And we use this as a guiding light throughout our evolution of our platforms. And although chatbot is in the bullseye now, and it has been in the bullseye probably last year as well, the perception of chatbot and the use of analogous technologies, multimodal AI, sits outside of that target board, but is still something that needs to be considered. So for example, computer vision and NLP. So interestingly, although chatbot is the bullseye component, the fundamental building blocks of chatbot, the natural language processing capabilities, sit within a 1 to 3 year implementation. So that ultimately means that a lot of people, or it ultimately could mean that a lot of people are implementing chatbots, but their understanding of what really NLP is providing in terms of the flexibility of interactions is still not there yet. They're doing those initial legwork to deploy something of a framework of a basic chatbot for their purpose, right? So these are guiding points, Gartner being one of the sources of information, and our experience and our interactions and our deployments of our Vera chatbot platform are kind of the other guiding points that helped us evolve our Vera chatbot platform. And this is the kind of roadmap for that evolution. And I wanted to touch upon why this evolution has happened and what it is accomplishing for our communities of customers. So in 2018, we had custom built chatbot capability on top of existing tier one cloud service stacks. So what do I mean by cloud service stacks? So the Googles, the Microsoft Azures, the IBM Watsons of the world. We built dialogue flows and chatbot capabilities through those cloud service stacks. And those are all good cloud service stacks. And as you probably have seen if you've been working in those cloud service stacks, is that above and beyond those cloud service kind of black box AI capabilities, those tier one AI providers are now giving you also more room to do custom work in their portfolio, right? In their cloud service portfolio, like custom training of deep learning models and so on. But the reality of those black box solutions is that they do not, first of all, necessarily always are, customers don't necessarily always want cloud-based solutions. Second, the ability to custom train those models and to make those models more efficient becomes difficult, if not impossible. So part of our roadmap was to decouple ourselves from any tier one cloud platform and any of their NLU services. So we built our chatbot technology on top of RASA, which is an open source NLU model. And then we pre-trained it using BERT, which is essentially a pre-trained library that allows RASA to operate with already a deep understanding of the English language. And with that sort of open source flexibility, it allowed us to tune BERT to be more efficient. It allowed us to sit that NLU engine on-prem or off-prem. It allowed us the flexibility to build custom visual dashboards. It allowed us the flexibility to build more efficiently domain-specific platforms and a lot of other things that basically made us an independent chatbot platform. And that was not only beneficial for us, but ultimately beneficial for the end user communities because it allowed us to build essentially more compelling capabilities into our product stack, into our chatbot experience. From there, what we wanted to focus on is some of the core kind of driving adoption reasons for chatbot or preferred chatbot use versus human interaction. And the reason you want to use a chatbot is it essentially interacts with you the same way or in a better way than a human domain expert would. So one problem with chatbots, and I use that term generally, not all chatbots, but many chatbots, is that when you ask it a complex question, it doesn't have the capability or doesn't want to have the capability because it, let's say, wants to limit the amount of interactions that you do with it in an automated way before escalating to a live agent, provide you with precise answers. So if I ask it a complex question, it might give me a hyperlink to a document. Or if I ask it directions, it will, spew out a list of directions. Whereas a human being or a domain expert would provide a precise answer or a map with some information that would point me to the right direction. Now, I use those terms very generically. That map could be a map. It could also be a schematic. All right, I don't want to ask chatbot a question and have it provide to me a 100-page or 1,000-page document. I want it to provide me the most relevant information in the most relevant form. So as we started focusing on user experience, we built in different pieces to our offering. The reason I use this screen specifically is as part of our chatbot capabilities, we now have a 3-tiered business level architecture, meaning we have the front end multi-channel, we have this a dashboard that provides an understanding of the interactions of the experiences of the chatbot so that the users can get a feel, or rather the administrative users can get a feel for what's happening between my chatbot and my user community, and then improve it through our orchestration tools. We also have built basically a search-capable chatbot that uses something called knowledge graphs, which is basically a way of annotating information with real-world context. So we leverage those knowledge graphs to provide much more precise information to the end users. So here's a 3-year journey for our chatbot platform. that basically evolved our platform internally so that we can provide domain-specific solutions and more compelling and more accurate answers to different types of questions. Ultimately, with the goal of being able to maximize the adoption rate of this sort of technology, considering all these dimensions that, first of all, from the expectations of the users changed and evolved, and also as part of kind of the growth of our product development, this was the natural evolution of our product stack. So I want to take you through that journey. This is another part of our offering, like I mentioned, computer vision. And I wanted to start with this slope of enlightenment, or this hype cycle, rather, for computer vision. And we've, to some extent, also experienced this hype cycle because we've also had our customers and our potential customers approach us with perceptions of what the technology can do. And depending on where they were in their interest levels and where they were from a digital maturity perspective, they had different expectations of the technology, and they also had different requirements. And the reality of what this hype cycle is saying is really that the evolution of computer vision, first of all, is at a crossroads. And I mentioned this in the past. It is able to do a lot more than it has 5-10 years ago, thanks to the cloud accessibility, the kind of democratization of platforms that allow us to train and evolve, the growth of data. And today, I think also there is the insights and the knowledge that is now becoming a part of every end user organization that is allowing them to refine their understanding of really what they can accomplish with computer vision in terms of data analytics. So this was one of our guiding materials that helped us with our product evolution. Now, what did that mean for us in terms of the product offering and what we changed in terms of our end-to-end capabilities in the computer vision world? Well, in 2018, we were focused on custom model development and on data insights. So we essentially took and consumed video footages and basically provided charts and analytics that provided insights into information that were being extracted from video footage. And that's all fine. And I think from a custom solution perspective, there's still a need for that sort of capability. But what we've come to realize as we evolved our offering is that there are a lot of existing vision platforms out there that, for many stakeholders, are first of all, there's a lot of investment that have taken place for those vision platforms. And not necessarily just vision platforms, they could be analytics platforms as well, Power BI, Tableau. So for example, if you're in health and safety, you have data points across your entire organization that could be collected from sensor information, from GIS platforms, from some sort of health and safety application that you're using, from forms that are being filled out and exported. That is your central source of information. And so as we engaged and course corrected, what we built into our capabilities is essentially a platform that can integrate into various application systems that are enterprise application systems that need to have that information provided to them. So if you're a health and safety inspector and you want to see the slips, trips, and falls for a particular area, and you want to correlate it to some sort of violations of personal protective gear, then you want to see that in a central location. And in order for you to see that seamlessly, you need a platform, if you were to invest in a platform, that has that seamless integration. If you're in security and you want to monitor social distance violations and you have an enterprise VMS system, then you want to see those sort of data points in that central system. So there is that natural evolution of our offering from custom solution to platform and third-party integration. This year, a lot of our effort has focused on Edge AI. Not even, I mean, you see it, you hear it. I know there's almost a hype now for that sort of evolution of this technology, and it's very, very relevant because as the technology becomes more prevalent in manufacturing, as it becomes more prevalent in consumer applications, and as it becomes more powerful, the need to have edge-based AI capabilities that can inference those feeds, those computer vision feeds, and analyze them and provide some sort of actionable decision making on the spot. That can no longer sit in the cloud for the most part. Now there are maybe 5G, for example, is another area where perhaps you don't necessarily need edge AI in all sorts of dimensions, but there's very real reasons for edge-based AI capability. Another one may be actually inversely proportional to technology advancement. So you have a lot of people that don't have the bandwidth to run computer vision feeds into a cloud. So small retail chains, gas station chains, things like that. So edge-based camera systems that have AI intelligence are also very important for that purpose. The other evolution of our offering, I'll leave to the next set of slides, and it's really the idea of having a value-driven business case for computer vision. And I mentioned this just a few minutes ago, is that although there has been, let's say 2008 especially, and not so much maybe in the last 2 years, but a lot of the understanding of what you can extract out of computer vision feeds wasn't really fully understood. And to some extent, it still isn't in new industries that are looking to adopt this technology. So the need to basically support that evolution of understanding of what you can extract out of the insights, so that there's a business case behind it, so that there's a holistic plan that is scalable within the organization that could be bought in by the stakeholders, by the decision makers, that needs a front end kind of understanding of the value case behind computer vision. So this brings me to my last kind of piece to the enlightenment, and that's the idea of the disconnects between top floor and shop floor. And I use this as an example, but it doesn't have to be a manufacturing shop floor. It could mean there's a data science team working on a project somewhere to evolve some analytics for their own data silo, and there's a top floor executive that has a broader vision of artificial intelligence and what it can do for the organization from operational efficiencies and other things. And there's a need to bridge that understanding, both because there could be a misalignment of the feasibility of this technology versus the expectation, but also because, and this is really a function of the digital maturity of the organization, these siloed AI ideas, which exist still often in organizations, often lead to dead ends in their efforts because they don't take into account the broader strategic efforts of the top floor. So there's many different disconnects, and part of what we felt we needed to do is to bridge those disconnects. So this is kind of what we did to bridge those disconnects, and this is actually the industry collaboration model of the AI Innovation Consortium that VSoft is a founding member of. And we built a national network of AI industry professionals that provide different sort of capabilities depending on where the organization is from an AI maturity and from a digital maturity perspective, and also it just even based on corporate culture and things like that. For example, your understanding of artificial intelligence and that journey of evolving a strategic roadmap for the deployment of technology, or evolving feasibility studies around the value of the technology, ultimately it can be completely different depending on the organization that you're in. So if you're working with PMP principles, there's certain organizational process assets that can be used to feed this or to pull information and to feed information. So there's structure there that is very relevant to one organization. Whereas with other organizations working in just more agile-based environments, design thinking, mind mapping could be kind of workshops that could be done, and just availability of resources to actually put this together. It's all different depending on who you are, what organization you're in, and so we've created a network of industry professionals, like I said, professors, practice heads, thought leaders, and these industry programs that you see here at the bottom, incubator labs that basically allow for industry to develop their artificial intelligence proof of concepts within environments that break their barriers of adoption to taking that artificial intelligence journey. And I wanted to show one infographic here that I think is relevant, and we have plenty of them for the other labs. But basically, this is one for computer vision in manufacturing. And what we've evolved is basically this laboratory based out of Penn State that allows industry to evolve their artificial intelligence, computer vision, and industrial manufacturing capability by taking into account, depending on where they are in their AI journey, depending on how mature they are in evolving their artificial intelligence capability, allowing them to send their products to the lab, or should they see that maybe they want to do this on site, allowing them to deploy and evolve their artificial intelligence models without disrupting production. Basically, enabling a process for artificial intelligence to grow that reduces the risk of its adoption, and that brings to the forefront these sort of value case feasibility studies, these sort of technical feasibility studies that are essential to then being able to take that dive into really taking artificial intelligence into a production process, into a production grade system. This coupled with those other dimensions that I talked about that lay out the groundwork for data bias, that lay out the groundwork for a process for appropriately feature engineering and things like that, are all the dimensions that are part of VSoft's evolution of understanding how to engage the end user communities best. And also, as we're seeing here through the participation of the consortium, part of where really we're seeing a lot of acceptance of this sort of approach to evolving artificial intelligence for our customers. So that is a peek into our artificial intelligence journey. Again, I wanted to approach this a little bit differently, and I hope I was able to both touch upon the end users, the industrial organizations, the consumer organizations that may be adopting artificial intelligence, and also maybe share a little bit with the other tech partners that are listening in that maybe have similar journeys as we've had. Try to be as holistic as possible, try to touch upon some interesting topics. So thank you all for listening, and please come to our booth and talk to us a little bit more about our journey and about our product offerings.